Welcome, everybody, to the Resistance broadcast. I'm John. Thank you so much for joining us today. We have a very fun show in store for you. We have a guest joining us in just a moment. With me, as always, is James and Lacey. How you guys doing? How's your Thursday going?
I'm doing good, man.
Yeah.
We had a good episode on Monday, I think.
It was short, succinct, tight, but fun.
Yep.
Yeah, it was good. Lacey, what's up?
Absolutely.
Nothing. I'm ready to talk Star Wars. I'm excited about our guest because he's so pumped that like now I'm hyped. I feel like I've been like drinking coffee for an hour.
Yeah, I have a gigantic coffee here to try to keep up with our guest because I feel like he's shot out of a cannon and that gets me amped. So let's bring him in. You might know him from the hit series Teen Wolf. He's also an actor, director, YouTuber, and we'll get to his channel in just a moment. Joining us, welcome to the Resistance, Stephen Ford. What is up?
Hi everybody. Hi, I'm not excited. Hey, I'm glad to be here. Hi everybody. Everyone's background looks much cooler than mine. I did not come prepared. I've got my little Millennium Falcon. That's it, and I'm good to go. But yeah,
you have the nice ambiance though with the lighting and the guitar
mood,
in the background though, so you got that going on, and it's nicely out of focus.
I've never played that guitar. I've never
just a chord.
What brand is it?
I'm just guitar brand.
Guitar brand, all right.
One day.
So before we kind of get into the meat and potatoes of the show, we like to get an idea of what type of Star Wars fan you are. But before that, I know you've recently been talking about kind of a switch up going on with your YouTube channel. So I wanted to give you an opportunity to kind of like let our audience know what the deal is, where you're at there, and where they can subscribe and all that stuff. So why don't you fire away on that right now?
Yeah. Long story short, I started doing the YouTube stuff back in like 2009, like back when it was in its infancy, where like it wasn't the YouTube that it is now. And then I started working a bunch and on some really cool shows, and I just had no time to do it. And then somehow the winds brought me back to YouTube in a way, where I started working with the company Machinima, where I was a huge Machinima fan growing up, and I had the opportunity there, and I worked as their showrunner and producer for a long time, and we started this new channel called Ascender, because I'm like, guys, we got to do cool things like Forward Unto Dawn, and like, you know, link up with like big gaming companies and like do like really cool cinematic kind of like video game content. And they were down with it. It was great. It was called Ascender. And then WB came in, and they were like, WB's like, so this is going to be called DC All Access now, and you're not doing this anymore. And I'm like, oh, okay, cool. And then they were like, peace. And I was like, all right, peace. So then they gave me the Ascender channel, and since then, we kind of have just been grinding our teeth and making original content. But at the same time, I wanted to cultivate that audience. I wanted to like bring in the Marvel and Star Wars crowd. So I'm like, okay, how do I do this? I'm going to do super cuts and like really awesome edits from the movies, like every Iron Man suit up and stuff. And those got millions of views. And we were like, yeah, this is great. We got all these subscribers. And YouTube's like, hey, we're changing our terms of service. You're demonetized. And I'm like, oh, cool. This is like the week before we were about to start like our actual original content, which was a Call of Duty parody series called Modern War Dudes. And the week before it was back in October of last year. And ever since then, I've just been kind of fighting with YouTube to be like, hey, can we get partnered again? Please, we can't do this. You know, we're trying to do high quality content, but we're making no money off of it. So we're like, we don't have the budget for this. Can we get some help? And so basically YouTube gave me a resounding no finally. And then I'm like, all right, I'm just going to make the original channel what everyone came to it for, Star Wars, Marvel cuts, just fun, nerdy stuff. And like our new channel, Ascender, is now just going to be all of our original stuff. And we've got a really cool 1917 parody coming out about two roommates that go to a 7-Eleven to get toilet paper during 2020. So we did it all as like one take.
It's a big
epic thing, so yeah, I mean, you know, one take, sure. Wink, wink. But yeah, that's the first thing that we're gonna upload on the channel. The channel's live. We're gaining I think we're already at like 300 subscribers in the past day. Yay us.
Yeah, man.
Yeah, man, that's what we're doing. We're just trying to make cool stuff and eventually make bigger stuff.
There you
We hope.
Yeah. So they can just go to YouTube, pop in Ascender, and find the channel and hit subscribe, and away they go.
Yeah, just Ascender. We don't have the vanity URL anymore, unfortunately, but
You should just make it like, no, seriously, this is actually a sender.
This is the one.
No, but this is the real one.
It's like a Twitter name, like Real Ascender.
Oh my god,
The official ascender.
I have to put my middle name in the so it's just Stephen Ford, but I have to add the Sean Ford because some dude who hasn't tweeted in like 6 years still has the name, and I'm like, give me that name.
You're talking to James Baney, who doesn't have James
Baney over here.
Yeah. My profile is verified, but it's verified under Myra Trunks. And even if I was able to get my real name, then I still would have to give up my verification. And I'm like, this sucks.
Yeah.
So.
And Twitter's weird about it now. They got rid of their whole verification process.
Absolutely. So even if we were coming up in the podcast and we think we could get verified for those reasons, it's still not likely in Twitter world right now.
Right.
So.
Yep.
It's weird, man.
Pablo Hidalgo.
So I'm
territory.
Myra Trunks for life.
We're special. They need to give us check marks.
I know. I do love the people who like almost fake you out by putting a symbol in their name, and you're like, wait a minute.
Oh my god, all the time. And I'm like, I always do. I do a double take. I'm like, I see the 7, or like I see like whatever the circle. I'm like, okay.
Yeah, come on.
You're still valid though.
It's like buying the Rolex on the corner of Fifth Avenue.
That's exactly what it is. Yes. Yes.
All right. So before we get into our segment, One with the Force, yes, we're bringing that back 2 weeks in a row. Sorry for all you Will of the Force fans, but Steven, just want to get an idea. What type of fan are you? What was your introduction to Star Wars? What's your bread and butter? Like, where are you at as a Star Wars fan?
I'm a very complicated Star Wars fan because I'm one of those people that when I grew up. The first one I actually saw was Empire Strikes Back, and I saw it special edition in the theaters when I was like 6 years old, and it was like that thing where I didn't know anything about I didn't see the first movie I didn't even see it in VHS, and so then you get the I Am Your Father like that. And I'm still like, what is happening? I don't understand, but I love it. It's all pretty and flashing lights, and that's kind of what did it. And that was like that was in the dark days of being a Star Wars fan, where you had to go to comic book stores to get like $40 action figures that were still current. They were still being made like 97 or whatever, but they were expensive.
Yeah.
And you're just like, but eventually, Phantom Menace came out, and I'm not gonna lie, like 8-year-old, 9-year-old me was obsessed with the prequels. I was obsessed with Phantom Menace. And I will never forget the time I went to my first audition here in LA. Because I was living in Florida at the time. I went to my first audition here in LA. I'm 10 years old. I love Star Wars. Phantom Menace is everything to me. And so I go in there, and I'm wearing a Star Wars shirt. I don't know why I'm wearing that into an audition, but I am. And so I'm wearing a Star Wars shirt, and the guy goes, "Hey, Star Wars, you're a big Star Wars fan?" I'm like, "Yeah, I am." And he's like, "So, Phantom Menace, what'd you think?" And I'm about to be like, "Oh, it's the coolest shit ever." And he's about to be, and he goes, "Yeah, it's shit, right?" And I'm like... And that was the moment that I'm like, is it bad? What was that a bad movie? And then that kind of continued. Like prequels came out through my teens, and I was like, oh, maybe not so much. I'm definitely an OT fan for sure. But as time has progressed and I've become a filmmaker, I actually have a soft spot in my heart for the prequels as a whole, not like as an individual. Like if you look at the cinematography, or like the acting or the writing, you're just like,
sure, yeah.
But as a whole, it's like a Shakespearean like story of like tragedy. It's so good. Like when you look at it that way, I just wish that some people had checked George Lucas's writing a little bit, just a tad.
Just one more proof,
just a bit.
Yeah, it's definitely you watch them and you go, this is bad, and then you like sit on them and you play them through in your head, and you're like, actually, there's a lot of good stuff there. When you go back and you rewatch them, you're like, oh yeah, I forgot about all the bad stuff. Yeah, but what I like is in my head, and yeah.
And then that's basically I was just huge into it. I had every single action figure I could find. I was the kid that ran around with a lightsaber. I was that kid. I still am. I still have them in my closet over there. It's fine. And I'm enjoying the Disney movies to a certain extent. There's gems, and there are little flourishes in each of them that you can really enjoy. But not to upset anyone, I have very opinionated opinions about the main trilogy, sequel trilogy. But the standalones, Solo and Rogue One, so much fun. Like, they're not perfect. I know they're not perfect, but they're fun. And so, that's the only thing I have yet to get into is Clone Wars. And that's on my next docket, but it's like one of those things where I'm like, I'm busy and I just want to like sit down and
there's
watch
a lot of it.
all of it.
Yeah.
And there's a lot of it. And I'm also a little bitter because I almost, but I almost was Anakin Skywalker's voice. And that was like way back in the day. So I'm like, I auditioned for that and I got really close and then I didn't get it. So I've been a little bitter, but I hear it's really good.
If you see Matt Lanter walking in the street, you're like, you son of a...
I've seen him I've run into him a couple times, and every single time I'm like, I don't care about 90210 or whatever he was on. But Clone Wars, bro, okay, that's fine. Okay.
I know you and I agree with Rey's lightsaber. You and I are equally obsessed with her yellow lightsaber.
Where is it?
Still waiting.
Where's the lightsaber?
Well, that's the thing is you got that ambient light back there, and I don't think that's just warm light. I think that's actually her lit up saber.
The first one.
Yeah.
So it's funny you said that about the prequels because we had J.W. Rinsler on who was involved with Lucasfilm back in the day and wrote the making of the original trilogy books, and he said almost verbatim what you said. He's like, George wrote an incredible story arc for the prequels. He probably should have brought in someone like a Kasdan or somebody to polish up the dialogue.
It's he had been working with Frank Darabont to do there was a Frank Darabont Indiana Jones movie that was almost made in the 90s, and according to Steven Spielberg was the best script he has ever read. So, and then George Lucas said no to that. So if you had somebody like a Darabont or somebody come in to like just go, hey, let's polish this up, but like that was the whole point of George not being with the studio system, so he could do whatever he wanted. And if you look at films today, as much as we can, say what we want to say about the prequels in terms of cringe or whatever, as terms of world building, you don't find that anymore or anyone in any movies now. Like maybe Pacific Rim, but even that was kind of derivative. As much as I love those movies but still, that's
well, that is a good. Like, you touch on pretty much every era, so that's cool. Because I got reintroduced to Star Wars with the Special Edition 2. But so now we can dive in, James, into One with the Force and get into these 4 fun topics. And it's going to be a good time, I think. So let's fire that up.
The Force is with me, and I'm one with the Force.
All right, One with the Force this week. So we got 4 questions coming. And we're each going to give our one single answer. That's why it's called One with the Force. All right, you guys ready?
Yep.
Oh, yeah.
First question. Bail Organa has officially wiped your memory. It's gone. The good news is that you get to rewatch Star Wars again for the first time. You are brought up to speed on which movie came out when, realistically, chronologically. But what movie are you going to choose to start with on this journey? Steven, you're our guest, so you're going first on this one. What do you think? Which movie are you picking?
Okay, even though it's not my favorite, I will go with Rogue One, solely because if you're gonna dive into Star Wars, and this is kind of, I'm trying to think about what I'm gonna how am I gonna tell this to my kids? You start with Rogue One, I think, because the style. They did such a good job. Gareth Edwards just kept it so 70s feeling that when you jump into A New Hope, when you watch them back to back, you're like, this is really, it's seamless. So that's why I would probably do that.
That is a good pick, and I think we had an argument about this one time about which one to start with, and I argued for Rogue One in a certain capacity. So I like that answer. Lacey, you're up next. Which one are you picking?
It's tricky because it's I can't imagine my life without Star Wars because I've liked it for so long. So it's one of those things that where would I start? Probably Solo, because it has nothing to do with anything, and it's just one of those movies that I'm let me see if I like this or not. And then if you like that, then you could be okay, let me get into the whole thing.
Yeah. Instead of feeling like you already started something, you're like, well, maybe the next one's better.
Right,
you know, or
right.
whatever.
And it's got like current actors that are popular now that you'd be like, oh yeah, that makes sense. It's got Donald Glover. It's got Emilia Clarke. I'll watch that. Woody Harrelson.
Yeah, that's a good call. I like that a lot.
A good way to get somebody into it that's never been into any kind of Star Wars. And it's like the least, because it's the most like Firefly, really. It's just a space western. So it's that makes sense.
I love the Hunger Games too, and Woody's in that, so I'd probably go there.
Oh, yeah, that's a good point.
Very underrated films, I'm just gonna say.
Woody. All right. John, what are you picking?
I'm going the boring route, and I'm going A New Hope. But you know what though? If you think about how the prequels are made, because a lot of people, James is going to say episode 1, I'm sure. But if you watch the prequels, they are made in the timeline of Star Wars to happen before A New Hope, but there's so many nods and little wedges and Easter eggs of the original trilogy that you still almost kind of have to watch original trilogy first and go back, because a lot of the things he incorporated into the prequels were because of the original trilogy. Like, it makes zero sense for R2 and C-3PO to be in the prequels, and especially to have Anakin have built C-3PO. He only did it for the fan service of bringing familiar characters into the fold, in my opinion. So I'm going boring route. Give me the first one that came out. I'll take you on the journey as you took us originally. A New Hope.
That is my second pick. My first pick is The Phantom Menace. John thinks he knows everything.
I know you, I think.
Yeah, well, here's the deal with it is that around high school, I had a close friend of mine who was always over at my house, like every single day. And one time he told me that he'd never seen any of the Star Wars movies. I mean, I think I knew that, but I think it was like one of those things where it was like, I was like, dude, it's time. You got to watch these things. And he told me he goes, what order should I watch them in? Because I know they're like out of order. And I said, dude, here's the thing. Everybody has seen them 4, 5, 6, 1, 2, 3. You will be the only person that will have this weird and interesting perspective of 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. And I would love to have that conversation with you about your interpretation of the movie, having seen them in this particular order. So if I did have the opportunity to redo it again, I think not just because of what I know about Star Wars, but also because I have this story with my friend and how he did it, that I think it would be really cool to experience that. All right, let's move on to the next one. All good answers, and I love that we all had different ones.
That was
great.
Good, yeah.
All right, now all for the same answer. Would you rather Baby Yoda be a clone of Yoda, a direct relative of Yoda, or just another member of his particular species? Lacey, you're going first on this one.
I want Baby Yoda to be just a member of the species so that we can learn more about what they are, where they come from, and I don't think he needs to be related to Yoda. I think that a lot of us felt like when The Mandalorian came out and we had the Mando fan show and we were talking about it, we kept being like, it's not Yoda. Stop calling it Yoda. But like, we have nothing else to call it. So it would be great if it wasn't some type of Yoda and it was something else.
So they realized the whole success of Baby Yoda, the name. So they're like, let's just lean into it and make him Baby Yoda.
That's exactly what it was. Yeah.
All right, John. What is your answer on this one?
My answer is.
That's a good one. That's a good answer.
He interrupted. I'm sorry. He always does that. Sorry. Stop it. Jeez. It just talked again. That's pretty funny. I'm going with just another member of the species because I'm kind of cloned out for one thing. I think it'd be dangerous to clone Yoda because then Yoda's not special anymore if you're cloning Yoda. So I don't know. I like the idea that George Lucas gave them the blessing to bring this species back and toy with that again. I don't know if he would be cool with saying like, yeah, you could just clone Yoda and just like bring another Yoda in. So I'm leaning towards he is important for some reason. He's obviously powerful, but he's just another member of the species.
All right, Steven, what do you think?
Yeah, I gotta echo the exact same sentiments. My big thing with Star Wars is that if there's one critique I would have, it's that they feel the need to connect everything, and every single movie it's like Rey's a Palpatine, this person's a this person's a that. And my whole thing is, especially when it comes to the Force, outside of just the Baby Yoda thing, I just like the idea that in the first film in the 77 Star Wars and New Hope, they talk about how it's everywhere, with everyone, or whatever, the Force is with everyone. So I like the idea that anyone could be a Jedi, or anyone could be connected to the Force, like we saw in Rogue One. And then you have something maybe like the Yoda species, whatever it is. Did they name the species?
Not yet, unless you want to say Minch, which was in like an original script, but
interesting. I like the idea that maybe that species is more inherently connected to the Force just naturally, like it's a natural gift or something. I like that a lot more, and I think that if the second season comes around and they're like, oh, it's not a Baby Yoda, it's just a Yoda baby or whatever, it's something like that, but not it's that species or whatever. If they were to do that, I think that would be more of a jaw-dropping moment than it's Baby Yoda, because then that would just be like, oh, hey, there's something we didn't know. There's something they're expanding the mythos as opposed to just copping out, in my opinion.
Yep. Yeah. So like I kind of called it when we started this. I think we're all going to go with that same answer, that just another member of his species. When I looked at these three answers, the only one that I like absolutely threw out as direct relative of Yoda, I don't think they ever want to put that image in your head, that like he or anyone related to him had babies, for any reason. I think we just like the idea of Yoda just being like, the guy, a monk of some sort. He just is his own being.
Celibate is what you're looking for.
Celibate, yeah. But I am going to go with the member of his species. I think it would be weird, and I would still be okay with it if they did want to go the clone route, because I think it would be really interesting to see like basically the character of Yoda involved with later series that maybe they are in, like episode 10 and 11 and 12, and we basically have Yoda around again. I would think that would be interesting, but you might as well just go ahead and make it this Baby Yoda character for us. So same difference.
The idea that someone could have gone to Dagobah or something and gotten hair of Yoda's or something, and they made him because of how powerful Yoda was, is an intriguing concept. But it's to me, it's so dangerous,
Yeah.
Yeah, you could break the lore.
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
Yeah. All right. Next question is, we each get to pick one Jedi who we think would have made the coolest Sith. So obviously you can't pick anybody who's already turned. You can't do like Anakin or something like that. But this is going to be a Jedi that was, always on the light side. Who would we like to see their Sith doppelganger, if you will? John, you're going first on this one, actually.
Big fan of him in R-rated movies because of his language. So I'm going to go with Mace Windu.
Gotcha.
With Samuel L. Jackson just unleashing his bad side. I mean, it says it on his lightsaber, bad MF, right? And he's got the wallet in Pulp Fiction. Seeing him go dark side would make the most sense for me, because Samuel L. Jackson plays such a good badass guy. You'd almost want to see that as opposed to him crossing his legs and doing stuff like this, like he did in the prequels. He almost felt like he wanted to like go ape. So I think Mace Windu would be a pretty cool Sith.
Yeah, I gotta agree with that. Be interesting
if they expanded on that from the third one, from Revenge of the Sith, because apparently everyone can like withstand falling bajillion feet. But if he survived and then like he turned to the dark side, that'd be cool.
With the cut off arm, and he gets a mechanical arm.
Yeah. Yes, that'd be amazing.
I like it. Yeah. I don't not like it.
Yeah. Steven, we'll go on. What's your pick?
Rey, 1000% Rey. Yeah, I truly believe that Rey should have turned to the dark side, or the middle side, or whatever, the gray force or whatever. I truly believe that should have been the arc, and then we could have seen just go there with it, and we instead of like just kind of a rehashing of the original trilogy. I would love to have seen that purely from a narrative point of view, but also seeing there's a lot of things to not like about Rise of the Skywalker, but one thing I did like about it was seeing her dark side, if that makes sense.
Sure.
Not like when she had fangs. That was weird.
I was going to say Empress Palpatine.
But like her, like when she got like really angry and like force lightning and stuff, that was like, I'm like, I want more of that. That's amazing. That's interesting. And like having to like maybe see her face off against Finn if they had gone down the route of Finn being a Jedi, which I think they should have, and like have them. Oh, that would have been whatever. Oh, well.
Sorry to bum you out, man. All right, Lacey, what's your pick for this one?
110% of what Steven just said. Everything he just said.
Yours is Rey as well?
Yeah, so we get a glimpse of her being Dark Rey with the double-sided saber that clicks open. Like, everything about that was just so epic. The only thing that's kind of weird is that she's wearing a dress, and I don't think she'd actually fight in a dress. It's kind of weird.
No, that makes sense. Yeah.
But besides that, like, there's so much potential there that we didn't get to see. And I wish, like Steven said, that we just got that arc, because that would have made sense.
Would have been cool.
You know, if Ben Solo couldn't be turned for whatever reason, if she went dark, he would then go to the light, trying to bring her back, that type of thing. Like, I would have found that interesting. So definitely Rey.
I have a weird one, as I tend to do. Steven, you don't know that, but I usually pick like odd ones. Hear me out on this, though. This would obviously still change the trilogy and stuff, and most people might not like it. But I'm going to go with Master Organa.
Leia?
I think you look at Rise of Skywalker, and he says, the Princess of Alderaan has, ruined my plans. It's like, I think, what would it be like if she had turned and sided with the Emperor, and with her ability to like win a war and strategic all this and stuff, I think the galaxy would have been done.
Are you talking before she had Ben or after she had Ben?
Yeah.
Because imagine if Ben and Han are trying to get her back.
Well, let's write the story. I mean, because you brought up the whole like, what if Ben was good or whatever? Like, I don't know. Maybe that could be part of it. Is like because he turned, she turned too, and then he was like, nah, I gotta be different from my parents. So he goes back to the light. I guess.
I don't know. He was just rebelling. That's all it was.
Yeah.
Get out of my room, Mom.
Yeah, I would love to see, like, if they had made that the arc, like Luke's arc of, he lost his sister to the
then
dark
that
side
would make sense that he's on the island. I'd be like, yes.
Yes.
Oh, I'm in it for that.
Good job.
I wonder if,
good job, you.
Like, God Lover, I just don't know if Carrie Fisher had the chops in her at that point to put on that kind of performance.
I mean, that's
really
not what I'm thinking of the characters.
Yeah.
I'm not thinking too real about it.
Just from a purely, That is interesting, though, because I just rewatched the behind-the-scenes stuff for The Force Awakens again. And it is interesting, because she hadn't acted in a long time. Like, what was the last thing she did? Fanboys? Like, she hadn't
Austin
been
Powers.
around for a while. Yeah, and so, like, it was kind of interesting. And as an actor, you're just like, I get it. Like she showed up that first day and she was having the hardest time, and then the second day much better. And it's interesting because it was that first day that they had to cut so much out of that they used in the Rise of Skywalker. Very interesting. So hey, I guess it wasn't that bad. But yes, yep.
Cool. All right, last one for One with the Force, and per usual, it may or may not lead into the discussion a little bit. This one is Lucasfilm will make one of these projects, and we have to choose. The other, in fact, if they make this, the other one will not happen. Definitely not happening. So which do you prefer they make? A continuation of Solo with Han in a Disney Plus series, or a continuation of Rey's story in more movies. So both projects, though, either way, we're getting Joonas back. So pretty excited about that. Lacey, you look shocked. You're going first on this one. Solo on Disney Plus or more Rey movies?
More Rey movies.
More Rey movies?
All right. Sorry, and I'm wearing the shirt too. That's why I couldn't say it. I love Rey.
Sure.
I love Finn. I love Poe. I don't think they got the story they deserved in the sequel trilogy, so I would like to see them get that payoff in a new trilogy that's written all at the same time.
Yeah. Yeah, it's one of those things. All right. Well, John, what do you think? What's your pick out of the two?
Solo, man. I'm so vested in Solo at this point. What makes Solo 2 happen. And every time, it's funny because I want to see more of Rey, and I want to see her be the Jedi she is on her own, post the baggage that comes with the legacy actors, because now people can't ruin Luke and they can't make that excuse anymore. We're beyond that, so I'm excited to see that. But something about Solo, and I love the movie more and more every time I watch it, and that's sincere. And the way it left off, you knew that they had plans to send those two straight to Jabba's palace, and we were going to see that, but they punted the marketing, and we know that whole story about how they screwed that movie big. I want to see Alden back more than I do want to see Rey continue on in an episode 10 or whatever. So for me, it's an easy answer for me. It's more Solo.
All right, for me, I'm with John.
God, you make me change my answer. I changed my answer to Solo.
No, you don't get to change it.
Totally good. Totally good.
Force, one shot.
Well, my one shot has changed.
So, for me, I'm 100% that I really want to see Solo 2 happen as a Disney Plus series. I think that would be great. When it comes to Rey and the story, I feel like because they were like episode 9, end of the Skywalker saga, boom, I feel like that story can be like right off into the sunset. That's the period. It's done. That is over. And she just lived her life fine after that. And I can be okay with that. I'm still always going to wonder about Han Solo in this 8 years between him becoming what he became and where we see him in A New Hope. That is always just going to intrigue me, and I'm always going to be curious about that world. And if I have the opportunity to see it in live action, I want to see it. So I also am big on hey man, let Rian Johnson do his other trilogy, whatever, let's start new Star Wars adventures as far as the movies go, and we can do some crazy stuff that isn't the galaxy's in trouble again, episode 10.
Palpatine is
the
back,
second
baby.
order, all of it is.
Yeah.
So Steven, close this out. What's your thought between the two? Which one are you picking?
It's a horrible question to ask because I have such strong feelings about the sequel trilogy that we didn't get, because we all really wish that they had sat down in a room being like, this is what we're plotting out for the next 5 years.
Shoot them all at the same time, Lord of the Rings style.
That would only make sense. I don't know. But the whole process, knowing the process about how they botched, as there are redeeming qualities. I'm not saying that they're awful, but as they did botch the trilogy and they didn't plan for it, because of that, I think we were all robbed of a cohesive story that could have been just as good as the original. But that being said, if I were to, and I know I have one answer, if I were to say anything, I would say I 100% want more Solo, because it's funny. Solo was that movie that everyone joked around, and they were like, nobody wants a Han Solo movie. And I was kind of like, I don't really want a Han Solo movie. But then Alden was cast, and I'm like, I don't really like Alden. He's a cool dude. So I'm like, yeah, I want to see this. And then I saw it. I'm like, this isn't a perfect movie, but it's fun, man. It's so much fun.
Yeah.
And it's funny because the way that they ended it, besides the groan-inducing Maul's lightsaber igniting for no reason, besides that, I want to see more cowboy western in the space stories. And you combine that with what they're doing with Mandalorian, and I'm like, yeah, that's the stuff that we want to see on like Disney Plus. Like the little more intimate, less like, oh no, the galaxy thing. But that being said, if they were to ever bring back Rey's story, I would want to see them do it in a good way. The way that they did with the legacy characters, where they bring her back in 20, 30 years once she's worked a lot as an actress and on a bunch of different projects, and so have all these other actors, and then they kind of come back to like usher and I like the idea of maybe doing that in perpetuity to a certain extent, but with fresh tales, like with fresh stories that are planned out. But that would be cool. Like 2040 rolls around, and then like Daisy Ridley's like, yo, I'm back as Rey. That would be cool to see what happens there.
But it's not happening because you pick Solo.
Well, now I have, guys, my pick.
No.
All right.
Well, that's it. That's it for One with the Force. We're done. Let's get on. Let's talk a little bit more about Solo. John, what's the discussion this week?
Obi-Wan once thought as you do.
So Solo Disney Plus rumors, whether we think they're real or not, is it a good sign or is this just false hope? So we've been hearing a lot of rumors about Solo spin-offs pretty much since Solo came out, from Enfys Nest continuing to Crimson Dawn with Maul and Kira to a Lando series. But until recently, we haven't heard anything about Han and Chewie coming back. And now we have heard that there are rumors out there that they're going to retool things and do the Solo verse, and Han and Chewie are coming back. Alden's coming back. So as these things are heating up, is this a good sign? Is it where there's smoke, there's fire? With the rumblings of rumors, is Lucasfilm kind of putting their ear to the ground and hearing how fans are responding to these rumors and saying like, we may have something here. The comments thread here is not too volatile. People are liking this. So let's just kind of talk about the state of Solo now, since it is one of the hot topics in Star Wars during a Star Wars lull, if you will, and see what we come of it with. So, Steven, I'm gonna throw it back to you. You clearly are a Solo fan. You like the fun Western vibe that it brought. It was better than you originally thought it was going to be. Alden delivered for you. You've heard the rumors recently. I'm guessing that they may be doing some Solo stuff. So where are you at with Solo? Do the rumors give you hope? Do you believe in them? Like, where are you at right now with the future of Solo?
I'm hopeful, which is the word that we all like to use in Star Wars, apparently. Hope. So here's the thing. I think somebody over at Lucasfilm or Disney watched that new Peacock show, Brave New World. I think somebody watched that and they're like, you know what? Alden's just so good. He's so good. And that's exactly what they like called up. Hey guys, maybe we do another one. I don't know. What do you think? Yes, I was just watching it last night. It's so good. Like, I think that's what happened. Because and it's so funny because I know so many people I've seen so many comments, or I saw so many comments. Oh my God, he cast Alden. Like, he's got the weird square face. He looks nothing like him. And it's like, yeah, if you compare him to Baby Driver dude, I can't remember his name.
Ansel
Elgort.
Yeah. Like, he looks way more like Harrison Ford,
which
sure.
They dodged a bullet, by the way, because apparently that guy just got nailed.
Thank God. But the thing is, and the one of the best things that I've heard about Alden's performance and why I think it's timeless is because it captures spirit of the character, makes it his own, and then doesn't try to copy somebody else. Don't get me wrong, I really love the casting of Donald Glover as Lando. I love that casting so much. And I really, really just admire that man so much. But at the same time, he tries to do more of an impression, probably because Billy D. Williams has that talk, and he talks like this. And so because of that, he did kind of an impression in a way, while Alden just kind of took the spirit, the fun that we kind of saw with Han a little bit. But really the whole thing with Han is that he was like this, I don't trust anyone, I'm this gruff gunslinger kind of guy, and just had his little moments of sarcasm and levity that him how's everything with you? Fine. We saw those little moments of that, and I feel like they took that and Yeah, so I'm hopeful because solely because the casting of that film was great, and we all know how Solo happened behind the scenes, where they like replaced the directors, and then it's interesting because I mean, I don't know how true this is, but as far as I'm aware, the only like real thing that they left in from the original directors, Phil Lord,
Chris Miller,
yeah.
Yes. The only thing that they left in was the very beginning, all the beginning stuff with the blue lights and stuff, and the squid lady or whatever. That's what they left in, and like the rest of it, they basically just reshot everything in like little parts here and there, but mostly was just completely redone. And I'm not that big of a Ron Howard fan. I'm not. I mean, he's good, but he's not like, you know, my favorite director or anything like that. But it's still like, it's fun. It's just fun, and seeing where we went with the sequel trilogy, I would love to see that fun return. And as much as I love The Mandalorian, it's not as fun. It's not like jovial in a way, you know. And that's something that I don't want to get rid of in Star Wars altogether going forward, solely because we want different types of, you know, kind of like what the Marvel universe does, is they kind of have like, all right, we're gonna have a heist movie kind of thing with Ant-Man, and then we're gonna have like a different genre film, you know, almost kung fu type film over here, and then
Guardians is jokey.
That's kind of what I'm hoping. Yes, or Winter Soldier is a spy thriller, basically.
Strange is like, you know, crazy, like almost horror-ish.
The Taika movie was like on another planet, literally.
So yeah, that's really what I'm hoping that they do with Star Wars, and so I'm hopeful, and I want the movies to continue. I know everyone likes to hate on our boy Rian Johnson. I know, and I do too. Don't get me wrong, because I have my opinions about The Last Jedi. But then it's like, I watched some YouTube video the other day. It was so good, where they basically talked about, it was this hour and a half thing from this dude, A Closer Look, and he talks about the sequel trilogy and everything, and he talks about how Rian Johnson's The Last Jedi is a great film, but it's a bad sequel. And so I would love to see him do his 3 movies. I want to see him do something totally different, and a story that he creates on his own, while, you know, Solo and Kenobi, they live on Disney Plus, because, you know, Mandalorian proved that that's completely a viable option, and I want to see that.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
I think that's kind of where things are leaning.
I talk too much. I'm sorry.
I love it.
No, take the stage.
A lot of people know our opinions on Solo, honestly, with us doing Make Solo 2 happen. And
apparently not me. Surprise me that though.
Yeah. So Steven, are you familiar with the hashtag Make Solo 2 happen and all that stuff? Okay.
Yeah. Well, I am now, because in this past week or whatever, because I honestly have been campaigning like privately with all of my friends that all skipped. We all know why everyone skipped Solo. They skipped it for multitude of reasons, but it was Star Wars fatigue right after The Last Jedi, because that was divisive. I don't care what you say.
No,
if you liked
of
it,
course.
didn't like it. It was divisive. That's what it was. And then I know why Disney did not wait until the fall to release it. But if they had waited to release Solo in the fall, you know, at least have it removed from The Last Jedi enough that people could like cleanse their palate with superhero movies or whatever throughout the year. Come in November, here's Solo. Everyone would have seen it. Everyone would have seen it. And it's funny because like one of my favorite things is going on the Star Wars subreddit, and every single week you see one of the posts reach to the top of the page saying, you know what, Solo wasn't that bad. I finally watched it. It's like, yeah, it's because of people like you. We're not getting a Solo 2 yet.
I don't know how many times we've all experienced it. Somebody's like, they talk to you because you're the Star Wars guy, and they're like, hey, I watched the Solo one on a plane or whatever, and you're like, where have you been? You've been sleeping on this movie, man. We needed you.
That was like one of the best ones. What happened?
So yeah, Steven,
I think it's my favorite.
Steven and I connected over Twitter via Ray's lightsaber, and then it pushed even further when he tweeted about Solo like a week ago. You were like, I finally watched it, we should get it. It was all in caps. You were like, everyone should what? And I was like, retweet, immediate retweet.
It's just it's sad. Like, I've just been campaigning because I saw it 3 times in the theater, by the way.
So did I.
I was doing my
3
best.
or 4.
And it's really funny because like even I know, and the movie does have pacing issues. It has tonal issues, and it has some writing issues and character issues. Especially with him and Emilia Clarke's character, like it's like, okay, I feel like this isn't as ironed out as it could be. The movie is not perfect, but neither are the sequel trilogy movies, and neither is Rogue One really. And it's perfect. Like no Star Wars movie's perfect except Empire Strikes Back. I mean, that's perfect, obviously.
I'm with you, man.
But they're none of them are perfect, but I think that comes closest to. They're standalone films, man. They just got to do the standalone stuff and maybe do like little connections here and there. But like, that's where I'm hoping we go with it. And I will literally stand out. Actually, I should do this. I'm going to go record myself standing in front of like Disney being like, make Solo
do it, man.
I'm going to do it. I'm not kidding. I'm going to do that.
Nice.
Record this so people know I'm going to do this.
Yes.
I'm going to do it. Either Disney or Lucasfilm. I don't know which one.
I will email you like a high-res version of the logo.
We'll get you the poster.
Yeah.
Perfect.
Bob Iger tweets, he's like, please go home.
Please go home, man. What are you doing? You know, I'm trying not to make another Spider-Man movie. Go home. I don't need Tom crying at me again. Stop.
So one thing I noticed you said at one point is you said some of the stuff that they kept or left out. And actually, John Kasdan wrote like this piece that like had like, I don't know, like 100 things.
It was like 52
like,
or 62 points of
or something like that. Yeah, points of just facts that he had. And it was the first time, if I remember, that we like there was some public like acknowledgement of Lord and Miller and their involvement.
Yeah.
Because he mentioned a couple things in there that was like, this idea I really liked, and that was a leftover from their thing as well. So if you don't know about that, go check that out because
for sure,
John Kasdan being the writer.
Because I heard stuff from people that worked on the set,
sure, and
people that were close to it.
Spill the beans. Let's go.
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
From people that were close to it, and here's their social. So I heard a lot how it happened and stuff, and I don't know if I'm allowed to say how it happened or whatever. But it's a little sad because I actually love those directors. I mean,
they're hilarious.
Into the Spider-Verse is one of the greatest films I think ever, and probably the best comic book movie.
Agreed.
And the Lego movie is great, and the 21 Jump Street is great. They're great at what they do. The only problem is I just don't think what they were doing matched up with what Disney wanted to do at the time, specifically Kathleen Kennedy. And you combine that with the big tentpole films are made in a very, very specific way, like very, very specific. And that's actually one of the reasons why you have like a lot of directors that do very small films. They come in, Marvel or Disney or whatever. They're like, hey, here's a $200 million movie. Even though the only other movie you've ever done is $1 million movie, they will come in and they'll be like, I don't know what am I supposed to do? Like there's too much
Rian
going
Johnson,
on right now.
Right?
It's yes. It's a very specific way that they
and their
make
formulas.
the movie.
Yeah.
So I don't
they're
know.
Plug and play type.
Yes. So, and I feel like film, and I feel like they kind of just do their own thing, and it really, really works in their own way. And I just don't think that mashed up with the cookie cutter way that so far Disney likes to do most of their stuff. I won't say all of their stuff. Like if you look at Ragnarok, that's a great point of like, but still, even then, the way that they film it is all the same. It's like. It's not like indie filmmaking where you're just running around with the camera, adding stuff at the last second.
Yeah.
So in that sense, and given they did the same exact thing on Rogue One, where they're like, "Hey, Gareth Edwards, we love you, but psych, Tony Gilroy, come in here and redo this stuff." And they did it again with Colin Trevorrow, and I might get skewered for saying this, but I love Colin Trevorrow, and I saw what supposedly his version of the Rise of Skywalker was going to be, and even though there were moments that I'm like, it was vastly more interesting. It was just more interesting to go in the direction that they didn't go in with him. And I'm it's totally off subject, kinda, but I'm a big believer in trilogies should be all handled by either one director the entire time or by different directors each time. So like it really bugs me when you'll get a director that does like the first two films. Iron Man is a great example. So Iron Man 1, Iron Man 2 feel very Favreau, and then Iron Man 3 is completely different than the other two films. Yeah, Shane Black. And it's not like it's not because it's bad or anything. Most of the time they're fine, but it's you need a unifying vision, especially when it comes to three films which are just a big arc. And I feel like I said this the other day, but I feel like if J.J. Abrams did all three sequel movies, they would have been cohesive and they would have been great. Or if Rian Johnson had done all three of them, they would have been cohesive and great. Or if they had done what they originally planned on doing, which is have Colin Trevorrow come in at the for the last one, and each has a different view and opinion and voice, then it would have been more interesting, at least, if not cohesive. Right. But yeah, I'm a big... So that's why, like, when the whole thing happened with Guardians of the Galaxy, and I'm like, oh no, it's gonna happen again. James Gunn is not he's not gonna do the third movie, and like now he is, and like
they did it with Hunger Games. The first director of the Hunger Games did like all shaky cam, and you're like, what is this? Yes. And then the second one, you're like, this is amazing, and then it kind of still looked the same going into the third and fourth one.
What's the point of doing another weird example?
We're talking about trilogies.
The Harry Potter series.
Harry Potter is one, that it switches hands a lot.
Well, Harry Potter is interesting because the first two were Chris Columbus.
Love Chris Columbus.
And then they had a different director for the third one, different director for the fourth one, different director for the fifth one, and then Yates did 6, 7, 8, and 8, and then obviously he's still doing the other stuff. So they just like really got along with him. But it is weird to think it was the first two was this, and then another, and then another, and then
Didn't
another.
Didn't he do Prisoner, Yates?
And then,
And then
no, that was Alfonso Cuarón.
That one's the best one.
I think that's my favorite one.
That's the best one.
The best one. It's the best one. It is.
Why is it the best one? Is it because of the story or is it because of him?
Both.
It's both. It's so totally
Gary
off topic.
Oldman?
Harry Potter. Yeah, I mean, well, of course. I love telling people that Gary Oldman is the guy that plays Sirius Black and Commissioner Gordon, and they're like, no, it's not. I'm like,
it is.
It is. That's how good he is. The Prisoner of Azkaban was so unique in itself because that's when J.K. Rowling changed the book, even though I shouldn't say her name these days. J.K. Rowling
it's like saying Voldemort now.
It's like, so third one came around and she's like, all right, cool, I got to make this darker. And that's exactly what they did. And then they did it with the direction of the film. And that's why,
it's
so
such a good book.
I just realized this. They did this with the Bourne trilogy too, or the Bourne franchise, where Paul Greengrass did Supremacy and Ultimatum and the other one that nobody saw. But the first one was Doug Liman, and Doug Liman's a great director, but like it wasn't that same style, just like Hunger Games. And it
was so drastically different. Yeah.
Yes, so different. So I think it's really important that, I feel like pick a director for trilogies. Or have everyone be different directors,
or look at like Mission Impossible, where it's like it's all hodgepodge, and then as soon as they find themselves, they're like same guy,
same guy. It's really funny because the whole Mission Impossible thing. That guy, what's his Chris McQuarrie?
Yes, I asked him if he'd ever do Star Wars on Twitter, and he was like, "I can't answer this because people will freak out."
Yeah, he was like, "No,
No, it's actually really interesting because he was Tom Cruise's dialogue writer for like 10 years before he started directing with him. And when Tom Cruise lost the franchise with his whole Paramount thing back in 2006, and then they came back, they're like, hey, let's make Ghost Protocol and give it off to Jeremy Renner. And then Jeremy Renner's like, just kidding, I've got like Avengers stuff and I'm doing the Bourne thing that no one's going to watch. He went off and did his own thing, and Tom Cruise is like, well, people apparently still kind of like me, I guess, so I'm just going to do more.
I'm just going to put myself
movies.
In 76 dangerous situations.
Yes, exactly. I'm just going to maybe kill myself. I don't know.
All of our Star Wars fans have like turned off the podcast now. They're like, what is happening?
Stop talking about movies.
Tom Cruise.
But no, Tom Cruise in a Star Wars movie. That's what we're talking about, everybody. Okay, yeah, we'll get back on topic. Sorry.
No, but you make a good point.
We were talking
though,
about directors and trilogies and stuff and how we hope to.
Yeah, I get like this every time. This is why I can't have my own podcast.
If they do continue Solo, which would ideally probably at this point only have to be on Disney Plus, which when you think about it, it makes the most sense to do it there, because it could be very serialized, like you say, like a Western. I wonder if it would be not as drastic of a transition if Ron Howard wasn't interested and they let Bryce Dallas Howard helm a Solo series. She learned from her father. She has already directed The Mandalorian. They're comfortable with her work. I think that could be something that'd be very interesting.
That would be, I mean, I'm going to be mean right now. I'm going to be mean.
You're in a safe space, Steve. It's a safe space.
I love Bryce Dallas Howard. Like, she's a really good, she's really underrated. That Black Mirror episode, so good. She's really,
is her name
really
Lacey in that episode?
I think so. Yes. I don't know. Yeah, sure. Yes. But it's funny because I liked the episode just fine. It was very Seven Samurai Magnificent Seven is like literally what it was. I like the episode just fine, but I know a lot of people said that it was their least favorite episode. And I'm kind of like, it's her first like thing that she directed. I mean, I think she did like a short film or something, but like it was her first thing that she directed. So it's like, what do you, come on. I mean, it's not, and it's funny because like, so it would be interesting to see that because like, I feel like, not everyone's like perfect the first time around, and I still think that it's still solid. So
who was
like,
Irvin Kershner when he took Empire?
Exactly. I think there were weaker episodes in Mandalorian.
Filoni's second episode, I think, was the most hated, wasn't
it? That was the one in the desert, right? With the dude's kid.
Oh, I forgot about that one.
Yes.
Yeah. Toro, right?
It sucks because I'm like, yeah, come back to the Tatooine, and then they did the episode. I was like, oh, okay. All right.
So
nah.
Yeah, it's an
so
earring.
you might be onto something with the whole Bryce Dallas Ron Howard thing, because we do seem to think that Mandalorian might be a little bit of a testing ground, because Taika did an episode and then he signed on.
Ooh,
Deborah Chow did an episode, and then she signed on to the whole Obi-Wan Kenobi.
She did the best
series.
episode.
Yeah, she did.
She did the best episode, in my opinion. Yeah.
So then you start to look at some of the other options as well. Bryce Dallas Howard, maybe she's being eyed to take over the Solo series. And I don't know about Rick Famuyiwa, but I don't know. It's I don't know. It could be possible.
That would be interesting.
What do we think about the other options too, as far as like they make the Solo series, Lando's in it, then they spin off the Lando series, or maybe Lando series comes before Solo? Like what are we looking at here with this stuff too?
I don't know,
because this is all part of the same
what
thing, the Solo rumors,
well,
Disney Plus rumors.
What I heard was, we don't think there's much to this Solo rumor about this Solo series right now, but you might get your Lando series. So if they backed up the Brink truck to Donald Glover's door and just dumped cash on his doorstep, he'd probably come back and knock out 8 episodes as Lando Calrissian, like no problem.
I truly think that they'll do a Lando series before they do a Solo series. That seems to be most on brand with what Star Wars is trying to do. And since they were like, okay, well, Solo had his own movie, then Lando can have his own series. I feel like that's kind of where they're. But
what would a Lando series be about?
And I don't know, because like I don't know. Here's the thing: I love the character. Yeah. Don't get me wrong, and I really love the arc in the original trilogy. It was really interesting. Like you're like, oh, this man betrayed. Oh wait, just kidding. He's there to help him. Right. I love that. I love that kind of thing. So if you kind of like. But I don't know what it would be about, because we know Han Solo is a smuggler. We know a little bit about him as like what his profession is. But what's Lando's profession? Does he just gamble? Like, what does he? When does he start? When does he get? Yeah, exactly. When does he take over Cloud City? Maybe that's probably what it would be. Is like seeing him
at a bank
take over Cloud City,
signing documents to buy the
applying for a
just
loan.
Like, all right, cool, I got it. The Human Torch.
Yeah. I think his show would be good as far as like he is the playboy, the gambler, the James Bond, right? that is this half of James Bond, but then like whereas like James Bond is like mostly spy, but he's also kind of like this. I think it's the opposite. It's like he's mostly this. This is how we promote the show. He's this gambler, big high luxury, Canto Bite, not the story, but like the lifestyle.
Yes.
Then what's going on behind closed doors? That's when he like.
That's interesting.
That's
Sounds
when
like
he's
Lucifer.
the Dark Lando. He's swindling people. At the end of every episode, he's somehow making it like he's pulling one over and he's getting out of there before anybody notices him. You know.
Yeah, you kind of turn that into like a kind of heisty, spy thrillery kind of. But the Canto Bite thing, I think they might bring that back.
That's what I like.
Even there, you go. Yes, I like that. That's cool. I like that. That one, I would watch that. Of course, I'd watch that.
Watch it.
Yeah, exactly. We always,
I'm not the baseline here.
I don't know. It's interesting. The only thing that I can't wrap my head around, it's like a broken record for me, Steven. So I don't know where you're at with this, but if you think about Solo and where it left off, it really felt like they had a plan. Like we keep talking about trilogies. To me, it was no doubt they were kicking off the Adventures of Han Solo. The next one was going to start at Jabba's palace, like Han convincing Jabba, "Let me work for you." What happened to that Beckett guy? Don't worry about that guy. I'm your guy now. And it would have been, it's kid. I've flown from one side of this galaxy to the other, and I've seen things. Like we want to see those things, right?
We want to see the things. It's funny because what Solo suffered from the most amongst anything else was just like, how did Han get his gun? How did Han get his name? Like like the kind of George Lucas.
Let's explain everything.
Okay, I got to connect everything kind of thing. And I think honestly they did that because they just assumed people were stupid. And
it's very like
care.
young Indiana Jones was,
I think of it. I think of it as Kasdan. I think of it as Kasdan totally knowing his character and thinking this is what I like about Han Solo, and he's completely just out of touch with like the fandom and like what they want to see, because he wants to tell the story of how he did the Kessel Run. He wants to tell the story of how he got his blaster.
To determine those
he
things. He
wants to tell the story of meeting Lando, of meeting Chewie, of and he wants to do all those things, and that's just kind of like that's what's always intrigued him about those characters. Or that particular character, and I think that's what he wanted to bring to film. So he just did it.
I agree with that. I think he was like, I want to tell this story because it's my story to tell, so I'm going to be the one to tell it.
Yep.
Yeah.
And it was George Lucas's idea.
And I might not get another opportunity too.
Right.
So there's a little bit of that, like, if I don't do the Kessel Run in this, maybe they do it in like a third or fourth movie, but like, why don't we just do it now? Why don't we just be, this is the one with the Kessel Run.
Right, which I love the Kessel Run, but I didn't like the Han Solo name thing, and I didn't like the gun thing. I felt like those were like little...
20 seconds, though. It's
okay,
just,
okay. It's okay, John. It's not bad. I'm just saying I didn't really like it, but yet the Kessel Run, I'm all for.
Yeah.
It's funny that you say that, because I remember in the theater, I was fine with it, but when I got home and I see all everyone's reactions to everything, it's funny, the name thing, I am gonna go against the grain, and I
like the name thing too.
I love that.
I don't like the gun thing, but
because of how they did it, it's even regardless of like, oh, how did he get his name? Like, we don't need to know how he got his name. Like, besides that argument, which I understand that. Besides that, I just love like how like the Imperial guys like Solo, like, and I'm like, I just love it. It's just the interaction. I'm like, okay, that's great. Like, that's really good. But the gun thing, personally, if I'm going to get, like, if I could just go back and rewrite it, if I'm in the writer's room being like, all right, this is what you have to do, I would have that gun be Beckett's gun.
Oh, and
like,
he takes it off
his
him.
gun that he uses throughout the movie, and he takes it from him at the end.
Love that.
Like, that's what I would, because I'm a big believer in, like, and you see this obviously in most big films like this, but I'm a big believer in like an item being tied to a character.
Mm-hmm.
It's like you look at Han Solo and you're like, okay, I imagine him with the vest and the holster and then this and that. Like, it's the iconography amongst individual items or costumes and stuff. And I think that that's lost on a lot of movies now. So that's why I think it's like really important to have like maybe that gun represent something way more than just like, okay, we're doing a job, here's a gun. It's like, no, this gun belonged to the guy that was kind of my mentor, and I had to kill
I did
him.
the hard thing, yeah.
And that is I did the hard thing, and like that is so much more interesting.
I'm gonna push back a little.
Because real quick, because you watch then the later movies 4, 5, and 6, and you see that gun and you now associate it with Beckett's gun as well.
And then you're like, oh, that's the gun.
It's not just the gun that he got.
But hear me out, because I think when he throws him the gun, they don't build it up as this. Here's my favorite gun. You can have it. He just tears it off his thing and throws it to him. And he's like, all right, we're going. And I'm like, all right, they did it subtly. They didn't even cut back to the gun. They're like, he has it. It's good. But the fact that he gave him that blaster to say, like, you're becoming this person now. You're becoming like me. Here's your gun. That's part of the symbolism of that. And then he kills him with that blaster.
You make a great point. Yes.
He becomes Beckett and puts it in his chest the way Beckett would do it. With the gun he gave him. I think that's very interesting.
That's true.
That's a great point. I actually, going to be completely honest, I didn't even think about that until you just said it. So that's actually a really great point. And I feel like if they had just, like, for stupid people like me, that they had hammered that home just a bit, and a tad, just a little bit.
Well, yeah, but you wouldn't have wanted him being like, with my own blaster too.
How would you kill me?
I forgot how quick that thing fired off. I mean, and I am obnoxiously a Solo apologist. Like, I get sensitive about Solo now. So, but the last thing I want to bring up before we head to a couple of viewer questions, if you don't mind, is Alden's recent comments, which I found very interesting. He said, I don't know if I should say this, but my favorite part about the character was who he became at the end when he becomes that guy that you know, because he gets burned by all these people.
Yes.
So in his mindset, he's already thinking about how he could play Han Solo as the Han Solo we know going forward. What do you think about that?
I'm the president of the Alden Ehrenreich fan club. That's just a fact. It's because, like, when the movie was when the movie was announced, I'm like, who are they gonna cast as Han Solo? And I'm like, no.
It's like the live action Aladdin. You're like, who's the genie?
I'm like, who are they gonna do? Like I don't. And like when I heard the names being thrown out, and I know quite a few of the people that were being thrown out, and I was like, I don't see that. I don't see it.
Did you text those people and say, funny. Nah, dog?
No.
Matt Lanter, you better not.
Not again. It's funny because Alden and I went out for the same movie back in the day. I don't remember the name of it, but it's like a fantasy mystical
Beautiful Creatures?
Something. Yes.
There's the movie that I told you guys about. The YA movie. He plays the southern boyfriend that, like, the girl freaks out and he like is endeared by her.
So that could have been you?
So it was like me and three guys.
Full circle. I brought this up the other day.
Yeah. So
wow.
So it's funny because like I've literally lost work to him, but like he did a great job in that movie and he's gorgeous. So like I'm like whatever. But like looking at what he did with the character, I'm like, no one else could have done that. Like no one could have done that. Because we all assumed that the guy that was going to come in to be Han Solo was going to be like, hey, kid, what are you, like, you're expecting him to do Han Solo, right?
Should have been you, Steven.
You're expecting the point, from Harrison Ford. You're expecting that, right? And so he didn't do that. And whether or not that's the advice of the production team or whatever, the director, or if it was him and that's what got him the role, it doesn't matter. It's the fact that we saw that side of him. And one of the biggest things and biggest complaints that everyone said is like, oh, he was too, like, he didn't, he wasn't, Han Solo-y enough. He wasn't mean enough. He wasn't sarcastic. And it's like, that's the point is that we see him go to that place. And so that's why at the end of the movie, and again, movie's not perfect, but that moment when he sees Kira just like flying away and there's the music drops and it's just, you see that look on his face of like ultimate betrayal. And I'm like, that's when he became that heartless dude that's like, I'm out for me. And that's the point that he becomes that. So then we see that in the next movie, him turn into that person. And that's what I want. That's what I pray is going to happen next. And knowing how good Alden is and knowing likely where they would want to take the character, he's going to nail that. So I'm very
and
excited.
He said he would come back
if that happens. Yeah, and he was signed on for 5-6 movies,
at least 3, I think.
And then he was signed on for a bunch. He said that, and then everyone was like, "Well, yeah, sure you are."
Yeah, right.
And they didn't make
So
he's getting worked up.
But he was in Beautiful Creatures, though.
He's in Beautiful Creatures. Yeah. So did you audition for Solo?
Yeah. It's a long story. So I auditioned for Force Awakens.
Oh.
Back when they didn't know what they wanted Finn to be, I auditioned as him.
It was like called Sam or something. Yeah.
Yep. I auditioned for that.
That's cool, man.
And I didn't not get far. But it just wasn't. That's not what they wanted, and that's totally fine because John Boyega, I think, came this character as Sam, and he is so good.
Yeah, he is.
So I'm like, whatever. But it's funny because they were bouncing around the Solo movie years before they came out with the Solo movie. And when they were bouncing that around, I was kind of thrown around in the mix a little bit. So there was never a chance that I ever would have become that. But there was like an maybe almost chance. And it's funny because I dressed up as Han Solo so much as a kid and in my teens. And one of the costume designers from the film helped me from one of the prequels.
Oh, that's cool.
Helped me that's what you should do for this holster thing and stuff. And then I sent them a picture and they're like, you look just like him. I'm like, thanks. But that was when I was 40 pounds lighter. So I'm fat Solo now. So it's okay.
So here's the deal. If Alden, for whatever reason, is like, you know what, I've had enough of the runaround, I'm out, we're going to get you involved here. And we're going to have you take over, and we're going to make sure Matt Lanter's out of the country somewhere. And you're going to get locked in, and you're going to become Solo on Disney Plus, and that's what's going to happen.
I would not do it. I would not do that.
Yeah, you're out.
Number one, the first thing I would do, if this is, we're talking alternate reality, by the way. So if that were to, I would call up Alden and be like, yo, dude, what are you doing? Do it again, man. I'm his cheerleader, man. I don't care. I want to work with that dude. I want to put him in one of my movies.
He's so
awesome.
good.
I dig him.
He's so good.
He's not only just a good actor, but he's got a really, really, it's really hard to find somebody in Hollywood that's not a total dick. And he's not.
That's good to hear.
And,
that really is.
And it's it's rare. And especially with somebody that got to the position that they're at, which is not at a position where he's a household name, because he's not. But where he's at a position where he's leading projects and really good. He's forever. It's amazing. I hate to say it. Let me just put it this way. When I'm playing Battlefront 2, I'm playing with the Alden version of Han Solo instead of the Harrison Ford version of Han Solo. Probably because the Harrison Ford version looks kind of weird, but still.
When he was...
he's Han Solo.
Yeah, when he was announced at Celebration in 2016 in Europe, they brought him in for that, and they had, it was the big moment of who's Han Solo, and he was in the room with a bunch of the people, because I used to work for the company that did the convention, and it was him and his parents, and he's sitting there in a blue sweater, some jeans, just chilling, and has no idea what's about to just happen.
No.
So then his parents would be like, so can we sit here where, and I'm like, you can sit wherever you want to sit. Put him right front and center. They were so proud. They were like, he's going to be in a movie. And I was like, you have no idea what he's going to be in.
Aww.
Yeah. And so when he came on stage, it was just really cute. And John Boyega being like, you look just like Han Solo.
It is funny because there are moments in the movie where you're like, it's because he doesn't look a thing like him, by the way, other than the fact that they're both white dudes with brown hair.
Yeah.
But
it's weird too, because
there are moments where you're just like,
there's a deep fake version where they put Harrison Ford's face on Alden's body during the gambling scene. And what's crazy about it is people are immediately like, well, they should have done this because look at how
you don't cover up Alden.
How much you just immediately see that is the Harrison Ford that we recognize.
That's exactly the point.
And I'm like, but that's why you had to get Alden in the first place, is because he's so good at like all the body language and he figured it out, because you can't put that face just on any other actor and be like, well, that's clearly Harrison Ford. Right. It's like, no, it's like, it's way more than that. I mean, you're the only actor out of the three of us.
Right.
But
it's funny. There's this guy, I can't, you guys might know who I'm talking about. He did a Obi-Wan Kenobi fan film. He does a lot of like Robin Williams.
Yes, I know who you're talking about. Jamie
Costa.
Yeah.
Mel Brooks.
Okay. Mel Brooks. Yes. Jamie Costa. I've actually met him a couple times. It's interesting because he looks like three different people all at the same time. Like, he looks like Robin Williams, but he also looks like
the
Harrison
Robin Williams
Ford.
is
very
insane.
weird.
Yeah, it's so nuts.
It's weird. But he did like a solo fan film.
I think I watched it.
Yeah, and it's like, even him doing an impression. This is not to knock his abilities, because he's a very talented person. But him even doing impressions, I'm like, yeah, it's a cool impression. It's not Han Solo. It's not the same thing, and you can feel them trying to do that. It's just kind of weird.
And it's weird too to have fans like right around that time, like especially when Solo came out, to hear people say, well, they should have got that guy. And I'm like, the guy's never been in a movie before.
Oh, the Anthony
you know,
Herber?
like, yeah.
There's that guy too.
Well, he was in the Adeline movie as a young Harrison Ford.
Yeah, he was where he played young Han.
Yeah. And I actually like that movie. But
I'm still glad that it wasn't Baby Driver Boy. I mean, as much as I love Baby Driver so much, I'm so glad it wasn't.
And you know what? That would have been weird too, because just height alone, that guy's like 6'4", and he would have been like the same height as Chewie.
He's
would have been
huge,
very weird.
he's a weirdly tall person. Like, you look at him, you're like,
but you're right. They dodged a massive bullet there. We wouldn't be talking about Make Solo 2 happen right now if that guy was Han Solo.
Yeah, let me just put it this way. I don't think Alden is ever going to have that issue. Same kind of issue.
Not only that, like, people seem to forget that when they announced him as Han Solo, they saw 3,000 people for this role.
Yeah.
And they chose him. He was first, and then they chose him again.
Amazing.
But people forget they saw everyone that you could possibly think of, including that guy we just talked about. All these people, they saw them all, and they chose Alden for a reason. And it just drives me nuts when people are like, oh, well, that's not who I would have chose. Well, would you have sat through 3,000 auditions?
And by the way, sitting through casting sucks. So, like, they're going to pick the best one.
Steven, is it really like when you see in the TV shows like Entourage, where everyone's there wearing the same outfit and they're all like, hey, what?
Oh, God. Oh, God. It's funny because, like, I remember I was obsessed with Entourage back in the day. And then, I watched an episode of it like 2 weeks ago. Oh God, it's so awful and like misogynistic.
It is.
It's just so. So I'm like, that's the point that I'm like, I've grown a lot in a couple years.
It's been off for a while.
But it's funny. It's interesting because that movie is like 1,000% like the ultimate parody of Hollywood or whatever. But yeah, it's pretty accurate. You know, you're sitting there and that guy looks like me. That guy looks like me.
I'm in the right place.
Like, yeah, and you try to psych yourself up to be like, oh yeah, man, I'm gonna go in there and be the best, and then you go in there and you just suck. And then you're just like, all right, cool. And then you like walk out and you're like, good luck, everyone. And you just leave in tears. That was my whole acting. Because like I took a break from acting to get into directing because I didn't want to like just split the time or whatever. And I needed a break. So I'm like, it's funny looking at the acting cycle, like being an actor. From the perspective now of somebody that creates things, and you're just like, oh, I hate actors. Like you understand, and it's like the weight is off your shoulders. You're no longer like worried about the things that you were worried about as an actor, which are all just kind of blasé. Yeah. So yeah, it's yes, accurate. Very accurate.
All right. Well, with that in mind, we have a couple of questions from our viewers for you.
Yeah.
And some of them are right along that path here. So I'll start with the first one here.
What's the segment called, John?
Oh, Ask the Resistance.
I've been wondering, what are midichlorians?
Graphic.
We gotta send out a beacon.
Yeah.
All right, so the first one here is sorry, James. From Sean Santarude at Rude Cold. What is up, Sean? So he said, if you could play any role in a Star Wars film or TV show, what would it be? If you could pick your carte blanche.
I already have a dream. I already have what I want at some point in the future. You can't. They're so specific with Star Wars now, and especially because I'm a Star Wars fan, I feel like that alone. And how opinionated I am about it, that alone like disqualifies me from doing anything Star Wars.
You'd be on the set being like, this is wrong.
What is this? I don't agree. Yeah, no, but they have Jon Favreau, and Jon Favreau's been a Star Wars fanboy since he was a kid, so like whatever. And same thing with John Boyega, like whatever. So, cross my fingers. But I want so bad to be an X-Wing pilot. I don't care what project it is. I just want to be an X-Wing pilot. That's it. I just want to be
legit.
A pilot. I have a whole idea for like a Star Wars spin-off series that's about like the Rogue Squadron, and they get stranded on an alien planet, and it's like I got a whole idea for it, and I'm like, that's never gonna happen, but still I can dream. But it's funny because we got Squadrons coming out, and I am campaigning so hard to let EA, because I'm an EA game changer.
Yeah.
So I'm trying real hard to like let them please let me do like an ad spot or something, so I can be like, we're gonna weave our way into it, and I just put myself in there for like 2 seconds. I'm like, I did it.
Like Anna Kendrick in the Battlefront ads.
Yes, exactly. You know when you watch The Last Jedi at the very beginning of the film, where you've got like the people being like Rogue 5 coming in, like whatever, and they're about to do their bombing run. I just want to be that. I don't need I don't need to be, the big, that's all I want in my life. That's it. That's what I want.
It's funny too, because you don't have to pick a character that is new. You could pick a character that already exists in the movie, like Hayden Christensen. Yeah. When he was a kid, he said, one day I'm going to grow up and I'm going to be that character. And everybody said, you mean you're going to play Anakin Skywalker? And he says, well, yes, but also they're going to take this guy out of the movie and put me in his place.
Yeah, right.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
And it literally happened that way.
We'll have to fact check that on Snopes.
Yeah.
All right. So our next question here from Caligari at Caligari_lives. I'm glad you live, Caligari. Would you make some Star Wars related original shorts for YouTube, or is the mouse too litigious for that?
I have quite a lot of friends that have done the they're kind of fan film stunt reel kind of things, where they go to a forest and then they do like a really cool lightsaber thing. I don't think I would touch it. Like, as much as I want so badly to just be like, hey, you know what, I'm going to do my own little fan film or whatever. Mm-hmm. I would rather put all my chips on the table with the hope that one day, I get to direct a Mandalorian episode or something down the road. And there's a part of me that feels like by doing a fan film, you immediately, and I hate to say it, you kind of discredit yourself to the people in, Disney or whatever. They're like, oh, they're just that one of those guys. Okay. Yeah, sure. Like, it's a tricky thing. And because we're all fans of this stuff. And we all just want to create our own little thing and like have our little slice of the same kind of universe. Even though that's the case, I don't want to shoot myself in the foot more than I already have by being opinionated. So, no.
You're allowed to be opinionated and associated with Lucasfilm. We know that.
Oh, yeah.
So, no, I don't think I would. And I also don't think that I could do it justice, to be honest. We're going to do a Ghost of Tsushima short film. Not that I'm allowed to talk about that, but we're gonna do that in like about a month or so, and like even that I'm contending with the fact that has no visual effects, that has nothing, and I'm just like, I don't know if I can do this. So yeah, I'll leave that up to the pros and maybe me when I'm 49 or something. Yeah,
like Favreau.
Yeah, let's hope. Let's hope.
All right, but you have to come back on our podcast, even if you.
I was about to say, I'll come back. I'll come back. You guys are going to be in it?
Yeah.
Everyone's going to be in the thing.
Right.
It's not, I'm going to make it a thing. Don't worry.
Just
locked
locked in
right
there.
Done.
Okay.
Everyone's a stormtrooper.
I'm
Michael
way too
Giacchino.
short to be a
Yeah.
stormtrooper. Way too
Um.
No, I literally am 5'4".
Oh.
No, but literally.
Literally.
But
Mark,
also-
Mark Hamill's 5'4", I think, too. But
Yes.
All right, last question here from Danny at Semperfi Danny. What's up, Danny? Now, you touched on this. You kind of said you wanted to see, maybe the Dark Ray thing or stuff, but she's asking, what would you like to see in a future Star Wars film?
Okay. This is I've had this answer ready for years. I want to see the Old Republic. I want to see that so bad. There was and again, this is the dark time of Star Wars. Back when I don't remember when the Old Republic video game came out or whatever, they had those cinematics where it did like the lead up to it or whatever, and you see that battle between the Sith and the Jedi, and it's amazing. That is what I want to see. I want to see the Old Republic. I want to see that, and you don't have to tie that to anything.
True.
Now you can just have your imagination, let it run wild. That is the ultimate thing I want to say. I don't want to keep going forward. I want to go back to the thing that we all have talked about, and that's all I want.
That's legit. And there were speculation and stuff that the Game of Thrones guys were going to delve into that world, and then they pieced out. So I don't.
Good.
You're not a fan of season 8 or okay.
I don't care. Look, this might cost me a job in the future. Okay,
the longer our podcast episode goes, your career.
My career just. No, man. I don't know if I like they can do some good stuff, but like that last season, I don't know. I was invested, and
I hear
just,
you.
Whatever. But they were in a losing battle anyway. There was anyone was going to be happy with the ending.
Yeah.
But still. I'm still bitter. I haven't talked about it since. I'm still bitter.
All right. Well, we'll have to revisit that another time on when.
It's okay. I started talking about Ben Solo like a month ago.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yes.
The grieving process is not over for any Game of Thrones fans, especially Daenerys fans.
You can sign a petition on change.org to redo the
season 8.
I saw that, and everyone was like, "That's insulting." I'm like, "Is it though? Isn't their last season insulting?" Like, I'm just saying.
Well, they're over on Netflix now.
They did Emilia dirty, like just
with their $250 million doing their thing over there, I guess.
Who has the better story than Bran the Broken? What? What? Sorry, I'm just.
Maybe you can do a different cut of that for your YouTube channel.
There you go. Yeah, done.
All right. Well, those are all the questions. So we obviously want to thank you for joining us on the show. But also, why don't you just plug where people can hit you up on social media, or what you're working on, or what to look for the channel and all that stuff.
Yeah, I'm just at Stephen Sean Ford. It's like at Stephen Sean Ford with a PH. Everyone says Stefan. Who cares? And just look up Ascender, like you're ascending or whatever. I don't know. Just look that up on YouTube, and we are going to be re-releasing Modern War Dudes to hopefully a very happy audience that will enjoy it from this point on, and our little short films, and hopefully they don't suck. And that's it.
Right.
That's it. That's my point.
All right. Well, yeah, go subscribe to his channel. Got to build that thing back up. And of course, subscribe to our channel too. But,
yeah, subscribe here, guys. Don't forget my channel. Yeah, that's nice too. But subscribe here.
Steven, thank you so much for joining us, man.
Thank you.
You have the key to the Resistance base. Anytime you want to come back on, DM any one of us and come nerd out, man. Seriously.
Oh yeah. Oh, I'm gonna take advantage of that key. I'm gonna start living here. I'm just gonna like set up shop on your
take
couch.
The guitar off the wall, start playing a little bit.
He's like, I don't know about that though.
I don't know. That requires effort. I don't know.
Yeah. Thank you so much, man.
Thank you.
All right, that's it. We hope you guys enjoyed listening to Steven chat with us as much as we enjoyed chatting with him. One of our more fun chats that we've had with a guest. That was a good time.
Yeah.
He's a blast.
Very open, very free, laughable. At numerous times, I was like, oh, we're recording. We're not just like hanging out and talking to this person.
Yes,
like a chat. This is part of the episode. So I hope that comes off in the video and in the episode itself. Yeah.
And damn you, Matt Lanter. What could have been?
I like that little scoop that he was almost Anakin Skywalker in the Clone Wars. That's great.
Well, whenever you get a guest and he's like, I don't know if I should, but I'm going to anyway. And he just blang, there you go. But he did say if he gets some gigs with Star Wars, he's still coming back. You guys heard it. So he's coming back. But no, we want to thank Steven again for joining us. He, as you heard, has a key to the base, so he can come back anytime. And we hope you want that to happen because we had such a blast having him on. But that takes us to the end of the show, guys. So I want to thank everyone for listening and watching and being a part of TRB. Make sure you do subscribe to us on YouTube, Spotify, Apple Podcasts, SoundCloud, Podbean, anywhere you get your podcasts. 2 episodes a week, so make sure you hit the follow or subscribe, whatever the app does. StarWarsNewsNet.com is where you want to go for all of your Star Wars news, reviews, editorials, information, and more. Patreon.com/Resistance Broadcast if you want to support what we're doing, and if you want more content. We do 9 mini episodes every month. That includes a Q&A where you ask us questions about anything. We have a great Discord server if you want to get away from the craziness of social media sometimes and talk about Star Wars, all down the line. And of course, I want to thank our generals, our top tier. That is Carmelo, Andrew Staley, Jeremy Myers, Neil Shaw, David Probus, John Reese, Micah Harrison, Michael Gaines, Jenna Rosewater, Bethany, Russ Harbison, and Kendall Gellner. Thank you, generals, all for all of your support. And of course, you guys know the deal with Teespring. Go check out our gear. We're wearing it right now. Make Solo 2 happen. You can find me on Twitter at Johnny Hoey and writing and editing over at StarWarsNewsNet.com. James?
Twitter and Instagram at Meyer Trunks.
Lacey?
People can find me continuing to wish for Rey's yellow lightsaber at Lacey Gillerin on Twitter and Instagram.
And being a pop culture dyad with Stephen Ford.
Apparently. People don't know that off air.
That was not planned.
Unless
you guys chatted about it beforehand, but we don't.
We did not.
No. We hope everyone has a wonderful weekend. And as we always say, while this stuff's going on, stay safe. Stay healthy, and we'll see you on Monday morning with another episode right here on the Resistance Broadcast. We'll see you around, kids.